Cup of Joe with Grandpa Dez. Hey, Corey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing, man?
I'm good.
I haven't seen you in how long? How long has it been?
I was just gonna ask you. Well, Double or Nothing.
Yeah.
So 3 years almost.
3 years ago. Yeah. 3
Yeah.
years ago.
And yeah, it's been a while. Obviously, we had the pandemic, and and we'll get into what you've been doing. But are you going to Double or Nothing?
Of course, I'm going to Double or Nothing.
Oh, awesome. Okay. I haven't really talked to you much about that, so I wasn't sure. I assumed you were, but
I'm going to be working Double or Nothing. I'm doing all the stuff with Dave and stuff like that. I mean,
are
basically, yeah. Basically, I'll be his body guy pretty much for the entire week.
Oh, okay.
Make sure he gets
chauffeuring him around and stuff.
Chauffeuring around, making sure he needs to get where he goes. I'll be in the suite.
Nice.
Basically making sure nobody bothers him while he's doing his report.
So when you say you're talking about when you say the suite, you mean you're talking the suite at Double or Nothing. At Double or Nothing. Okay, yeah. Because they sold tickets basically so people could hang out with him, but I mean he's got to work. So
yes, and my job is basically to, obviously he's we want everybody to talk to Dave and stuff like that, but we need a little bit of a space for him to do his report while the show's going on. So I'll kind of be there with my partner in crime. I joke with him. He's my doppelganger nemesis, John Muse.
Oh, okay. So what's funny? You bring up John, and I should get him on the show sometime. Yeah, I heard. So there was a while ago, Garrett was going to have him on. They were going to interview him on Wrestling Observer Radio, and they were teasing like the special guest, and people will know him and stuff. And then I'm like, I was curious, and I think I made a comment in the thread. I was like, "Is it me?" And and then it's like he's recording. I guess it's not me. And then he's like, "Oh, it's John Muse," and I'm like, "Okay." I said that name means nothing to me. I have no idea who that is. And he explained it to me, and it's like, okay, like I understand why I didn't know who he was, because he was a guest on IATA and stuff, and I never listened to those shows because I don't even know if I was on the internet at that time. Then all of a sudden I hear a lot of people talking about him, and then Garrett's putting him over as a smart guy, so I started following him, and he's following me, and we've had some conversations, and he's a smart guy, and cool. So he's gonna be there too.
Yes.
Oh, awesome!
He's going to be there.
Get to meet him.
And at the suite, he's also obviously be there for all the events and everything like that. Yeah. It's funny because Garrett did the exact same thing for me, and I started the way I found Dave was on IATA, but I didn't remember John Muse. And then during All Out in Chicago last year, because John,
he's from there, right?
He's from the Michigan area.
Okay.
And so he drove there, but he's been raising his son, and he really hasn't really been active in going places and stuff like that. So that was really his first real event that he went to, and it was so funny because I'm sure your listeners and everybody knows how Dave is, and because Dave and John are very, very close. There are basically they went to Japan together, and so they're very, very close. So the first thing Dave says to me, doesn't say hi to me, he goes, "Where's John Muse?"
Oh, really? So this was at All Out.
All Out.
Okay.
So
were you driving John around too, or
no? John had his own car.
Okay,
so he was driving Dave around, and I was driving. And so I called him my nemesis because he was taking my job away from me.
Gotcha.
But we're actually really good friends. We text all the time. We kind of go over booking ideas and stuff like that, and kind of just because as I don't really post on Facebook or Twitter just because of the fact I kind of like the personal connection if I want to text with somebody and kind of have a conversation. So John's definitely on my list of people that I do text with.
So for people that don't, maybe you're hearing Corey or you're watching Corey and you don't know him, maybe you recognize the name but you don't recognize the face or even the voice. Corey is really tapped in. So kind of like what I mentioned with John Muse, like I didn't know the name, but smart guy, knows a lot of stuff. I mean, John's, a little more directly involved in, guy almost ran WCW, he
was going to run the cruiserweight division. For Bischoff, if Fusion bought it.
Which would have been like the the company, basically, because I mean
Pretty
it would
much,
have
yeah.
been a cruiserweight company.
Yeah.
But yeah, Corey has got a lot of connections, and he is a, you know, the silent type that, you know, speaks when it's appropriate and usually thinks about what he has to say and says something, you know, that has some weight. So if Corey talks, you should listen, because it's probably coming from a place of knowledge that he may not want to dish out, but he has. So you know, I always pay attention to what you say. I don't always agree with you, but you know, it's, I think it's a respectful disagreement, and it's more just opinions, as opposed to that I think, you know, you've got wrong information. It's just like, you know, I would do it this way, here's why, you know, and we, you know, I think we probably have slightly different, we're looking for different things when we watch wrestling.
Totally agree, and I feel the exact same way about you. It's you know, it's not like, oh, you know, it's like, oh, well, you know, we might have differing opinions, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. In fact, it's good.
Yeah, I think different opinions are great, especially, you know, because you come from a different, you know, I come from the real inside smart fan type of situation where you tend to be more on the kind of the casual side in some ways.
Yeah,
you know,
with like, I'm tapped in a little bit to the smart part, but I mean, I'm kind of trying to look at it like, how would I think if I was just watching this? And I've got a lot of friends that are totally like, they have no idea what's going on. You know, like they tune on, like they watch NXT one week, like this week, and they're gonna see Indy Hartwell and Duke Hudson talking to each other and having this awkward silence, and have no idea why. You know, because they're not on the internet. They're not, you know, they're on the internet. Obviously, everybody's on the internet, but they're not following WWE. They have no idea that Indy's husband and Persia's boyfriend, or vice versa, you know, Indy's husband and Duke's girlfriend got released. Or Roddy Strong is all of a sudden running Diamond Mine, and
where's Malcolm Bivens?
Where's Malcolm Bivens?
It's like, and he just and that, the thing with me is that, you know, and I actually talked about this on my show, which was on
your show night. Which we're plugging there. You can find it on
Spotify. I know, I have a show.
It's awesome. I haven't had a chance to listen to, but I've got it queued up.
Yeah, it's a 20-minute show.
It's
very quick.
Nice,
it's very
quick.
Listen. It's very easy. I just go over a couple things real quick. It's nothing, you know, kind of more just to me to kind of get my feet wet into podcasting. I bought all this good equipment and everything like that.
Great.
So
great.
No, it's good, especially the fact that I'm doing this from my truck.
Which
I'm doing this on the road.
Because we're both in our workplaces. This is my
you're
office,
in your workplace.
Your office.
Although, like I said, I'm in a different workplace every day. Right now, I'm in Franklin, Kentucky, which is about 30 miles.
But your actual office moves with you.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
And my bed, at my house, it's the same thing.
Awesome.
But yeah, so as I was saying, I was talking about it on my show, you know, quickly yesterday. Is, you know, the fact is, you know, they were in storylines and they just were cut. And listen, it's a business, and you know, I know people who know Persia Parada personally, and she did everything they wanted her to do. You know, was she great in the ring? Not really, but she was okay. They you know, she did the, you know, it wasn't like she seemed out of place with the sports entertainment stuff. But the problem is with her is that they are literally hiring bikini models, a certain look, and she does not have that look, and she got cut. And you know, I mentioned it, just, you know, I feel so bad for her in the sense
because I mean, she had no chance. Like there was nothing she could have done.
No, and the fact is that, you know, she moved all the way here from Australia. Uprooted her life, and obviously this was her dream to be in WWE, and the fact that she didn't really even have a chance, and it's just, and that I think that's where I kind of get a little, you know, with WWE, I kind of am very down on them for that reason, just because angry. Of how they.
It's okay to say angry.
Yeah, well, not even anger. It's just. I don't see
frustrated.
I don't see how anybody would ever want to work for that company.
I can see how they would want to work for that company, because you're betting on yourself.
But
But
if you bet, but even if you bet
yeah,
on yourself, though, you're not.
yeah.
You're literally at the
Hmm.
whims of a
Yes,
76-year-old
exactly.
man
Yeah.
who makes that decision. So
But for the ones that it works out for, it works out. So I think that's why. I agree. I would say that for most people, they have no chance. And if they
yeah,
have another option. Now, the other thing you got to look at is for Persia Parada, if her only options were staying in Australia and doing whatever she was doing there, or coming over here and getting a chance and making a name for herself, then she took that chance. And at least you can say more people know who she is now. She'll probably make more money on the indies.
yeah,
So in that sense, I mean, that's the only positive you can take away. But the problem is now, because she's from Australia, I think she has to go back, right?
yeah.
Like, she can't stick around here. It's not like she could go to AEW tomorrow.
No, I mean, she's
And
got visa issues, and the
I don't think
visa, and
she's
the
good
thing
fit
with
there
the
anyways.
yeah, and I think with the visa, with all these international talents that get
Hmm.
released, it's just their lives get thrown off in
Yeah.
so much because I take we don't as an American, it's like, okay, if I don't have a job, I get another one, not a
Yeah.
problem. But here, can't do that. So it's
No. And
just
like, it's Stu Grayson, like that. I was talking on my podcast with Jeff Hawkins yesterday on the Dynamite show, and
yeah.
he had mentioned that, and I hadn't even thought of it. Like, he's probably, he probably can't do anything right now until he gets an offer.
Well, for years that was the problem with
Yeah.
Grayson and Uno, is that they didn't have visas,
Yeah.
and they weren't blocked out like Speedball was. Speedball was actually
Yeah. He was banned.
was banned because he got caught. But I know Grayson and Uno were basically told, "Hey, come back here, or we're gonna deport you." So they kind of went in that sense. But like I said, it's a business.
Yeah.
Listen, Stu Grayson's a great worker. Great worker. I mean, I'm like I said, when I've seen him live, it's like he's great. But they
Mhm.
have a lot of great workers,
They do.
and it's just it's a numbers game. And
I made a point in a private conversation. Well, it's a group conversation, but I want to see if I think you'll agree with me. Tony Khan hired a whole bunch of people when he started this company, that he was basically looking for any available body that he could get, especially if you're experienced. If you had an indie name, he was interested, and he gave them 3-year contracts, or whatever he signed them to. And his intention is to honor those contracts. So even though he's not using the guys anymore, he's going to pay them for the full 3 years. He's going to use them whenever he needs to. He's going to put them on Dark, Elevation, throw them on Dynamite every once in a while. But when those contracts are up, a lot of these guys that really, he's replaced them with younger talent, with bigger talent, with better talent. He might still use them, but he's not going to pay them on a contracted basis. He might bring in a Stu Grayson to work, a Dynamite a couple times, every couple months, come in, do a job, maybe even have a little program, but you're going to get paid on a per day basis. You're not going to be under contract anymore. And then it's up to Stu Grayson to decide, am I interested in that deal, or do I want to try for something better from somebody else? And that's going to apply to a lot of people that are going to be coming up over the next year, probably.
well, yeah, I
Would
mean,
you
Peter
agree?
Avalon is a perfect
Yeah.
example of that.
Yeah, he's still there.
He's off. He's still there. He's off
Yeah.
contract. I mean, he
Yeah.
did not sign a new contract, and they bring him in for dark tapings, and they'll bring him in for to do jobs and stuff like that. But he's no longer a contracted employee. But that's the business.
And if you're just
nothing wrong with
watching,
that.
if you're just a guy watching the show and you're not following this stuff on internet, you'd have no idea Peter Avalon was released.
Yeah.
Because you're not seeing him any more or less than you were before.
Yeah, again, and
Yeah.
and listen, per day deals are not a terrible thing. They're really
No.
not.
No.
And the thing also is, you have to
Wheeler
understand
Yuta was on a per day deal up until about 2 weeks ago.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And here's the thing with Yuta and a lot of these young guys on per day. Dante Martin,
Yeah.
another
Is he still-
example.
No, he's all elite, isn't he?
He's all elite now, but he
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
on per date. The thing is, and you see it with the guys that are actually starting to really kind of show themselves now, are the ones that actually go the extra mile and work
Yes.
other shows.
Yeah.
Dante Martin is out there working Warrior Wrestling. He's working, in Minnesota. He's working in other promotions. Wheeler Yuta, Daniel Garcia. I mean, they're working all over the country, as well as doing their per day deals.
Just saw Leon Parker on a Canadian indie show not that long ago.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I mean, they might have, AEW might have first dibs on them, but they're not resting on their laurels, and they're showing a work ethic, and they're getting better and better and better. And that's why you can see them say, hey, listen, this Wheeler Yuta guy, he's working real hard. He's getting better. He's getting better. Let's give him a shot. And, I was in Garland, Texas for Battle of the Belts. I had a day off, so I was in Dallas, so I drove up there and went to the show.
Did you see Ryan?
I did not. I didn't.
Oh, too bad.
No, I like I said, I was on the non-camera side, and I was like by myself where I want to be. Nobody bothering me. Just sit there enjoying the show, and then I went home. But he was over. That was the week after the Moxley match, and he was over. And I remember telling my friend, because he was like, will you start? I'm like, well, he is, but let's see how it is outside of the Northeast and Texas. And he was over. It's like, okay, yep, he's over.
And you know what? 2 weeks earlier, I was in that same building, and I saw him against Josh Woods on the Ring of Honor show.
Yeah,
zero reaction.
Yeah.
So in 2 weeks, in the same building, like that's how much of a difference that TV has made. Yes. I don't know. You mentioned that that you don't comment on Facebook a lot. I don't know how much you read it. I don't know how much you listen.
I read everything.
Okay, so you know the deal with me and Wheeler Yuta.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm coming around. Like I make this clear. I'm a Wheeler Yuta fan. I like Wheeler Yuta. I did not think he was a good fit for this group, but I think they're doing a really good job.
I think the fact is that if you have a guy who works,
yes,
then that's the thing. When they first were going ahead and obviously they were building Yuta to be part of the group, I was like, okay.
Okay, you're the same as me then.
Yeah, no, I was, because I was not really impressed with Wheeler Yuta, but when you put in the work, you get me invested. And he was able to really show that he can get reaction from a crowd. He can go in the ring, and the story they told was great. I'm not sure if you picked up on the.
I think that's the key is the story. And so I think it would have worked with a lot, like for Dante Martin you mentioned earlier. I think if you would have put Dante Martin in that situation, it would have worked just as well. But they picked Yuta. And that's fine.
But the full story is that, in November, this whole story started in November when Moxley was before he went away to go to rehab. He was in the tournament. Yeah. And Wheeler Yuta was I believe his first round opponent, and he destroyed him in about 2 minutes.
Yeah, and then his first match back he had with Wheeler Yuta again, and this time it was like 6 minutes.
A little bit closer, and then the Boston match where and you see improvement. And again, I feel that's the best way pro wrestling is presented, is when you listen,
progression.
It's not a sport, but if you kind of can click your mind onto that sports thing and be like, okay, this up and he didn't get it this time, but maybe he'll get it next time. Oh, he's getting a little bit closer. Oh, wow. He kicked out of a paradigm shift. I've never seen it, and now it's like, he's to the point to where he's getting, he's got credibility now, and he's getting better. And that's the thing. You get better and better and better, and then sooner or later you are basically right at that same level. And that's what wrestling business is.
That's a progression. And I think part of it too, and I'm the first one to admit this. Like, I think we've been shown a way that wrestling is done for the last 20 years. That has been one company. So we've been trained to say, okay, if a guy comes out and he loses in 3 minutes, don't pay attention to him. He's useless. He's nothing. So when you see that guy all of a sudden with these big stars, you're like, what the hell is this guy doing with these big stars? He's a loser. Like, in your mind, like, that's the way you're thinking, but we need to be trained differently. And I think where a lot of the people that were buying into Wheeler Yuta right from the start is because they've already given up on WWE, and they're looking for a different way. So they're watching, and of course you obviously are, you don't kind of already given up on WWE anyways, but
no, but I watch it. I watch.
Yeah.
Like I said.
So maybe subconsciously you're thinking that way, even though you probably don't want to.
I almost have two different brains when it comes to, when I watch WWE.
Okay.
I know exactly what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
I get the sports entertainment, and I can put my mind on there. When I watch AEW, New Japan, I go into that mindset because, like I said, I have a very eclectic, sense of watching wrestling, and I can do both.
And you can't. It's not really fair to compare them. In some ways.
They're not the same. They're not the only thing that's the same is that they are in a squared circle. That's it.
It'd be like comparing, like, a good drama to a good comedy. Like they're both television shows, but they're completely different. And they have different goals, and
but I can sit there and I can enjoy WWE. I mean, there are certain things I like about WWE. I enjoy the campiness sometimes. Like the Ezekiel thing makes me chuckle every time. I mean, I think that's very funny, but. When like I said, if I had to pick and choose, obviously I would choose AEW just because I like actual professional wrestling. That's what I grew up on. That's what I love.
Yeah.
As a sports fan, it's like, that's kind of how I
New Japan.
I mean, it's but the thing also with me is that with AEW, which makes it a little bit easier and to kind of get into the mindset is it's got a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
it's got just enough of the Danhausen, just enough of the Orange Cast to kind of, where I can kind of,
and some people would say maybe a little too much of that stuff, but but I think, you're right. Like, I mean, compared to WWE, it's just, I agree. Like, I like a lot of that stuff. I don't get the Danhausen still, but I'm not
he's
like
over.
Opposed to it. I know he's over. I get that.
That's the answer to the question.
And I got, but I got into Orange Cassidy right away. Like I got it. I understood it. I was right in there. I'm still not getting Danhausen. Like I don't understand it.
The best way I can describe Danhausen is he's Larry David, basically in wrestling. That's what he is. He's a painted demon playing Larry David. Just
but I don't like, it's the voice and it's the like just the randomness of it all. Like that's
the point. That's the whole.
I know, and I'm just not. It's not connecting with me. Like, I'm not totally close to it. I'm not saying I never want to see this guy again. I'm interested. I'm curious. I'm trying to figure out what it is that people see in him.
But what's great about wrestling is if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to watch it.
True. And the segments are short. I mean, they're like 20 seconds. So
20 seconds, and
I'm not going to fast forward them. But
the crowd, and listen, the crowd.
Yeah.
They love it. I'll tell you a quick story.
Sure.
Take a couple seconds. So this actually happened yesterday. I was making a delivery in Nashville, and I actually was wearing my Danhausen shirt. And the clerk at the delivery place. I got my company shirt on today, but I had a Danhausen shirt on, and he goes, "Don't curse me."
Oh, I mean, wow.
So it's like. That shows that he's over. It's just a random person making that reference. It's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
I've yet to have that random AEW reference here, but it's coming. The closest I had to that was I was wearing an AJ Styles shirt, and I was in a casino, and one of the dealers flashes the Too Sweet signal, and I kind of look at him like I didn't realize what I was wearing, and then I looked down at the AJ shirt, and it didn't even process that he was in Bullet Club because it was like however long ago, 8 years ago now.
Well, but also the fact also is that you're in Canada where.
But this was in Minneapolis.
Oh, Minneapolis. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So but I mean, it was like I was just shocked because I think the other thing is like. I think you're around, you're out more than I am, but I'm kind of just assume that wrestling is back to being in this little bubble where, you know, like it's very rare that, like, I remember growing up in the Monday Night Wars and you couldn't go anywhere. Like if I was wearing a wrestling shirt, like somebody was going to talk about wrestling, like they knew exactly what it was and everything. Now it's a lot different. Occasionally in a work meeting. Yeah, well, that's true. A couple, like in a work meeting sometimes, like, because I got all this stuff in the background, and so people see it in my work meetings, and then they'll, after the meeting, they'll say, "Oh, it looks like you're a wrestling fan," or something like that, and then they'll, you know, they might have a question, or sometimes they even like think UFC is the same thing as wrestling, and then I'll be like, "Well, I'm into UFC too," and then we, you know, we'll talk about that. But I had a guy in a meeting one time. This shocked me. This was 3 levels above me in the government. And we had this meeting, and then after the meeting, you know, we're getting ready to log off, and he's like, "Hey, Paul," and I'm like, "What?" He says, "Don't let CM Punk give you shit anymore." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So this guy's on Twitter, you know, and
that was kind of a big story. That was kind of you know,
like
the Twitter outrage of the day that when that happened.
But you don't understand when you're in the middle of it how big it actually is.
Well, that's when I have arguments with you about that, because you know, I think you're bigger than you think you are.
Well, I think you're right. And then when you bring up, like, you know, you'll make a comment, like we had that private text thing going on with Garrett, and you'll bring up a name, and I'm like, I have no idea who you're talking about, and you think like you'll make, of course you do, and blah blah, and I'm like,
you're in the wrestling media, you should know this,
but I don't. Like, I'm just like, you say that, and you're right.
That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm trying to take your spot, because I know
you say that, and you're right. But for me, it's like, I don't think of myself as that. I think I'm just this dude that is doing stuff, and you know, and like, people. But it occurred to me, like, Dallas, first time I went to WrestleMania, you were there, and we went to Wally Mania together and had just the most wonderful time.
That was night.
Yeah, but we went to the steakhouse, and I'm sitting there, and I'm with Peach Machine on one side, and I think you were probably sitting with Dave.
Yes.
And then a guy sitting beside me, who I won't call him out. He's been on the show, and I'm friends with him now. But at the time, I didn't know him.
Can I mention who it is?
Yeah, go ahead.
Filthy.
No. It's not. He's not famous.
Oh, I thought you were talking. About Filthy.
No. So I'm sitting with this guy, and he looks at me, and so I introduce myself. Hey, my name's Paul, or whatever, and then I'm Peach Machine, and he's like, "Wait, Peach Machine, are you Paul Fontaine?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh my God, I'm such big fan," and blah blah blah. And he's like, "Big fan." I'm like, "You're what? Like, you're a fan of me?" Like, I'm here to, you know, hang out with Dave and Brian, and, you know, and whatever. And it's like, and then it dawned on me, like, I got like articles, like I got like 4 articles a week on that website. You know, I've got podcasts.
Your personality on the site,
but I didn't like it. It doesn't register, you know. And then I wonder, like, for somebody like Garrett, even, like, you know, he's like probably 10 times bigger than I am. And you know, so for him, like, to, you know, be walking around, but then, you know, like, we're just these dudes. So I think for you, like, you've got all the same friends, and probably even more than I have, but yet you can kind of hide in the background, and which
is by purpose, by the way. I don't
exactly know if you know that. No, and I'd like that. I don't think I could do it, because I don't think my personality would allow it.
I remember I've had some of our mutual friends say, you know, go to me and be like, you know, you're like hanging out with Dave and Brian. It's like, yeah. It's like, I mean, you know, the fact that I've gone backstage, and I've gone, you know, basically, and but the thing also is, you know, the reason why that works is that I treat Dave, I treat Brian like I treat everybody.
Yeah,
that's with respect, and I don't treat them as if they're anybody other than who they are. It's
exactly.
It's not like, oh, you know, let's talk wrestling. It's like, no, I mean, I treat them as people, and I think they respect it. And that's another reason why I have wrestler friends,
right?
You know, who are in the industry, who, you know, I mean, there's a couple of people I talk to almost every day about, but we don't talk wrestling. We talk, you know, friendship and stuff like that. And, you know, I mean, I'll bring up stuff, you know, occasionally I'll bring up stuff, but I treat them like normal people.
because they
I
are.
think that they are, and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
that's what they want.
yeah.
They don't want people to be like, oh, I'm friends with this certain person, or I know this certain person. It's like, no, I go, hey, how you doing? Just and do it that
Well,
way.
and it's funny because sometimes they'll even bring up, like they'll name drop. I've heard it. I've heard people name drop you, and
Yes.
I'll hear it myself. I'll hear myself get name dropped by somebody relatively famous, and it still jars, like to where I'm like, wait a minute, is he talking about me? And oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, and then people will they'll pull, oh, I heard so and so mention. I'm like, yeah, well, whatever, like
Yeah.
it's just life, like
Yeah, and that's the thing. And you have a lot of people who are like, they don't know how
yeah.
and I kind of just I remember, I think I was backstage. Yeah, this happened. This happened. This actually happened at Double Nothing.
Okay.
So one of my first really good friends in the wrestling business is Lieb Bates.
Right. Yep.
So, and I hadn't seen her in a while. She works backstage at AEW and stuff like that. So, so at Double or Nothing, I went backstage while Dave and Brian did the scrum. Kind of just stayed to the back because, like I said, I kind of I got to make sure Dave gets to where he needs to go because Dave's a wanderer. I don't know if you know that or not.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That he wanders.
Yeah.
So I kind of have to.
Kinda
I
like
kind of have
Butch.
to. Yes, that's exactly
Where's
what it is.
Dave? Where's Dave?
Where's Dave? No, it's
Yeah.
I'll tell the Lieb story and then I got to tell you another
Yeah.
another Dave
Sure.
story. So, and I'm sitting there and she goes, Corey, and I'm like, Leva? And I'm like, because I knew she worked there, but I didn't know she was backstage. Work backstage, and she goes, it's great to see you. What are you doing here? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know how I got back here, but here I have. And I had a press pass. I got a press.
Yeah.
I mean, I got all that stuff, and it's just like I just kind of.
I gotta get her. I want her to meet my daughter. My daughter's a big fan of hers.
Yeah, she's
Emily.
Leva is one of the nicest, sweetest people you will ever meet in your entire life.
Oh, I've met her. I've met her.
Yeah,
I don't think she'd remember me, but I've definitely met her. I had a couple conversations with her.
Yeah, she's
hard to pry away from her phone sometimes, but
yes,
yeah,
you got it's. But like I said,
that's most people that age.
That's my exactly. Yeah. So sorry. So let me tell this quick.
Yeah, Dave story. Yeah.
Okay. So this is a 2-part Dave story. Okay. This happened at the G1 press conference in Dallas.
Okay.
So
2016.
No, 2018.
18. Yeah.
This is the one in Dallas. So
yeah,
Garrett was here for this, and so was I. I went to the press conference just as a fan, but I texted Garrett, hey, I'm here. And Dave sees me, goes, hey, come on backstage. And I'm like, okay. So I go backstage and we're just hanging out. And he's like, you want to just hang out while I do interviews with Kota Ibushi and Jushin Thunder Liger? And I go, sure. Yeah. It's just, and there was another funny story where Tanahashi's walking backstage and Dave kind of looks to the back and sees Tanahashi and he goes, Tanahashi. And then Tanahashi goes, yes, I am.
Oh.
So he does the interview with Ibushi, and we were waiting about an hour for Liger because it took a while for Liger to kind of get going. So Liger shows up. No Dave.
Oh.
Where's Dave? We lost Dave. Where'd he go? I said, all right, Garrett, let me go outside and take a look. I can't find him. He was in the store looking at t-shirts. And I'm like, Dave, Liger's waiting for us. We gotta go.
Oh, okay.
We gotta go.
Yeah.
They're waiting for us. It's like, and he's just out there. I'm gonna go ahead and look at t-shirts and
see. And for me, and like Dave's in a different world in some ways, but for me, like if I had an interview with Jushin Thunder Liger, like my whole day would revolve around that. Like, I'm sorry, but I'd be there like 20 minutes early. And I've been like that with this show sometimes, like certain guests, I'll have, I'll have arranged, and it's like, okay, like I'm ready, like 20 minutes ahead of time. And no offense to you, but when you texted me, it's like, yeah, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Like I was right on time. Like we started exactly the time I said we were going to
Yes.
start, but I wasn't going to be early.
Yeah.
And I'm like that with 90% of the guests, but I've had a few where I'm like, I'm set up, I'm waiting, I'm sitting here, I got my mic, I'm like staring at the screen, waiting for that person to click, because like, it's like you just kind of, and I guess for you too, because you meet so many of these people, it's probably not as big a thing. But I've had some big name, like I've had Cole Cabana on here.
Yeah.
I've had Dave, like when I had Dave, like I treated, like that. And Dave, you know what the hardest guest I've had to arrange with?
Who was that?
David Lovell.
Oh,
do you know David?
I know of him.
Okay.
I know.
I love, like I talk to David every day, and we
Yeah.
I've done his music show like a million times, but we just could not get together. Like, and then I sent him the link, and I'm waiting. Finally, like 20 minutes later, he's like, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be able to make it. And then it's like, okay, fine. So then like a week later, we eventually got him, and that was cool.
Yeah.
But you were exactly on time, heads up, and you sound good, you look good. You played around with the lighting before we started, and it's probably about as good as you can get in a truck. And honestly, like considering you're in a truck in Kentucky, it's pretty damn good.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, the fact is getting all this equipment and stuff like that really kind of helps it out, because like I said, because the thing is, and I've mentioned this a little bit earlier, but you are probably one of the main reasons why I wanted maybe to get interested in this.
Well, yeah, because if this idiot can do it, anybody can.
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
That's why I told Brian. That's why I told Brian, and
yeah.
I said, if Paul Fontaine can do this,
why
can't I? But the thing is,
just don't expect for anybody to listen or watch. But as long as you want to do it,
yes, exactly. And that's the thing. It's like it's like I put this show out there, and I did it yesterday. It's like, I
don't check the numbers. Do yourself a favor. Don't check the numbers.
I don't know if anybody pays attention to it.
Yeah.
And
I'll listen. Like I will. Really especially now that I heard it's 20 minutes. I'll definitely listen if it's 20 minutes.
And you know what the thing is? I really don't care that much, because I'm just doing it for me.
Exactly.
I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it for reps to kind of get used to this, because, if I had to say I'm ambitious, my goal is to kind of hopefully maybe get hooked up with you guys to on Fight Game, and kind of see how that works. I mean,
and honestly, like I think the key for us is at this point is that as long as you can bring something that somebody else already isn't bringing, and I think you do, even though, and I think it. It's just a matter of how do you incorporate that into what we're doing, because part of why you have the connections you do is because you don't blow them. So it's tough because if you get some information, you could share it. It could make a really great podcast, but it'd be the last time you get that information.
That's right.
So
again, it's the thing is I have had conversations with when I started to do this. The first person I talked to was Garrett.
Right.
Because Garrett is
he's the guy.
He's the guy.
I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for him.
Yeah, and I asked him. I said, he's like, do you have an idea for shows? And I'm like, not really. Maybe history shows. Like, I really want to do history shows, because obviously my memory and, I'm very well versed in history. I kind of, rattle off everything, top of my head, not even thinking about it, and so, like I said, that's why I started my show, is just to get practice on this, just to kind of get used to this.
Comfortable with a microphone.
Yeah. I mean, I got the equipment. Everything. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is that it sounds good. That's the one thing that's the one thing that I've noticed. And, I use the same software that you use for the show, and I'm able to upload it to Spotify, to my RSS feed, and kind of
so easy.
So easy. It's so easy.
And the fact is with this, it's so easy for the guests, because they don't have to download anything. They don't need any special equipment. Like if you have a guest on and all they got's a cell phone, like you can get it, you can do it. It's not going to sound great, but it sounds good enough.
Yeah.
And as long as you sound great, because you're the main voice, then people will listen. And
that's the thing, is that
if you've got a guest that people are interested in, they will put up with a little bit poorer audio to hear from that person. So,
and the thing is with me is that I literally, I mean, I listened to the show back, and it sounds like a normal podcast. And I
Yeah.
remember one of my friends, when I told him I want to do this, he goes, "Well, you got to learn to be an engineer. You got to learn to produce your show." And I was like, "No,
It's
I
not that.
found a website that kind of does
Yeah.
it for me, and I don't have
It's
to
not
worry
that
about
hard.
it."
Yeah, and for me, like that was my main barrier of entry was I was worried about the producing of it, the uploading, all that stuff. So what I did, like, I mean, I got started with Garrett and the fight game, and really I kind of piggybacked with Ryan because
Yes.
we wanted Ryan's knowledge of UFC, but
Yes.
he didn't have, like, I think he was maybe a little bit uncomfortable with being out there and talking and being on microphone and everything. So I
Yeah.
was the personality, so to speak. But I mean,
Yes.
it didn't take him long. Like, it took him like 2 episodes, and his personality's coming out. He doesn't need me, but he probably would rather not have to do all the setup and the recording and everything. So I do that.
Yeah.
And so but then I play a completely different role when we did the Dynamite show. I was
Yes.
the guest. But then
Yes.
I took over because once I figured out the producing, it's not that hard.
No.
And Garrett does it all. And so again, I looked at him and I'm like, well, and I wouldn't say like, oh, if this idiot can do it, I can do it. Like, because Garrett's not an idiot.
No.
But what I did was I kind of looked at what he was doing and I looked at the software he was using and I said, okay, let's figure this out myself. So this particular show that you're on, that I'm doing right now, this was my idea, and I pitched it to Garrett for Fight Game. And he just, like, he didn't quite understand, I think, what I was going for. So it was like, no, if you want to do that, why don't you just do it? And then, and then so I've actually brought a couple of these episodes to Fight Game, and it's a guest that I think would be interesting or whatever. But honestly, I prefer to just have it on my own because then I can talk however I want. The episode can be as long as we want. I said we are going to go 30 minutes. We're a little over that now, and we'll wrap up soon. But I kind of like to keep it around 30 to 40 minutes because it's an easy listen. And then when I go later on, I do in about 3 months, I'll put this up as an audio, and I'll put two together. And then so I think for an hour and a half, that's a good length of time for people that are commuting, that they can listen back, and maybe they'll go back and listen to a show they already watched. Now they can listen to it. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I'm excited for what you're going to do, and
Yes.
definitely have you on. Maybe we'll get you on the Dynamite or on the in the clinch sometime. And
any show you guys want to do,
I'll let you know.
Because now that we've actually done this, and it looks good and it sounds good, it's doable. Because again, the one thing I was nervous about was how the Wi-Fi would work and everything like that. Wi-Fi works great. So
and on the audio shows, I mean, we don't have to worry about video. So then it's just the audio.
It's just the audio. So if this is what it's going to be, then I mean, and then the good thing with me is as long as I have a good signal, I can do it anywhere. I mean, I'm literally,
awesome.
I have my equipment. Like
and
it's
an easy setup. Like, takes me 5 minutes to set up.
Yeah, I just get my laptop, get my camera, get my microphone. Then after that, just put it in my closet, put in my bag, and then I can go back to driving, or like today I'm actually off, so which made life a lot easier.
Yeah, it worked out well. I'm doing this on my lunch break. So if you're watching or listening and you see these two idiots doing a podcast, you can do it yourself.
Yes.
It
took me 20 minutes. It took me 20 minutes to figure out how to literally do everything, to the point where I have the YouTube. It's going to be on the show will be debuting on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. It goes automatically to all three. The audio of my show automatically goes put on the RSS feed. That's available 10 minutes after I complete the show. I just download it and then I just put it on my RSS feed, and it goes right to Spotify, and it sounds good. I'm probably going to hopefully maybe get a better name for the show.
Well, it's the perfect you're the perfect host for the Corey Lieb show.
That's right. And I literally was like, my friend goes, what are you gonna name your show? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm naming my show. And it's like, yeah, you gotta have a name for it. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna name it the Corey Lieb Show, because that's all I have in my head right now. So.
Well, this is the argument. Well, I wouldn't say argument. The discussion I had with Garrett about this show, and he's like, "Why are you calling it Grandpa Dez? Like, you've got a name." And I'm like, and this is back to what you were talking about earlier, that that I have a name, and I'm like, I don't really think of myself as having a name. So when I have a character, Grandpa Dez, which is my board name on F4W, but
Yes.
I feel like I can be.
I've never called you that. I've always called you Paul.
I know, and a lot of the people call me Dez.
Yeah, I know.
And
that's how you introduce yourself to me, but I always called you.
No, I never do. I never introduced myself as Dez. The first
you said
year,
Dez from the board. You said Dez from the board.
The first year or two, I did.
Yeah,
but now I just say Paul.
Yeah, now
it's
yeah, because
I'm not on the board. Like I'm never on the board.
We met in 2015 or 16.
Yeah, by then I probably maybe I would have said, you might have asked, why is everybody calling you Dez? And then I'm like, yeah. And then I was like, well, I'm Dez on the board, because back then it was just Dez Walker.
Yes.
And then when I became a grandpa, then I changed it to Grandpa Dez.
Correct.
And Dez Walker is a character from my book.
Your book.
Yeah. So, and the Cup of Joe was just, I just thought it had a nice ring to it. And the idea was two people sitting down, having a chat over a cup of coffee.
Yes.
And so that was the idea for the show.
Yes.
And so he was like, okay, we've got that. You need branding. So then it's like, this is where this background came from. This Mike Gilbert created that logo for me. And but I mean, if you look back at my early shows, it was like I made a logo with paint. Like I had no background. It was just, I just want to have a conversation. And then like a few episodes in, it occurred to me, like the whole reason I'm doing this show isn't even about a podcast. It was basically, I just want to have a conversation with people. Yeah. And in a lot of cases, friends, like probably 75% of the people are people I'm actually friends with. And the other 25% of the people are people that I just really wanted to have a conversation with.
Yeah.
And actually it might even be more than 75, but like a Colt Cabana when I had him on, like I just literally just wanted to talk to the guy, meet him, pick his brain a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we've gone little over 45 minutes, so we should probably wrap up, but I'll definitely have you on again for sure. Yeah. And I know we're doing a show. Are you watching UFC this weekend?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll talk. I mean, if you're available, maybe we'll get you on the In the Clinch post game show.
Which is funny because I haven't really ordered a UFC pay-per-view in a while, just because I'll check. If it's on ESPN Plus, I'll watch it. But I am interested in this show just because it's lightweights. I think it's a prestige title. It's probably the number one belt in the UFC right now, the lightweight title. It's
hard to argue,
and it's going to be a fight. And I think it's going to be interesting because Oliveira submits people. It's like I think if it's going to be a stand up fight, obviously Gaethje's gonna just destroy him on the feet, but it only takes a couple seconds for Oliveira to lock on a body triangle,
or even if he knocks him down. Here's the poster. Even if he knocks him down, then Oliveira tries to lock on a leg lock or something like that. So it's like, he's got to back up quick.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to order the show and watch it.
Okay, well, we'll be in touch because I don't even know. We don't usually do it right after the show because Ryan's been working the whole show and he's tired. So it'll probably be sometime on Sunday. So I'll give you a shout. We'll try to set something up because I think you'll have a lot to add.
As I told you, you give me half hour or so
sure.
of notice.
I'll give you more than that.
And then I have to find a place to park.
Okay.
Make sure my internet's working.
Yeah.
And then
I'll give you a time and hopefully you have time to set up.
Yes.
So I look forward to seeing you in just under 3 weeks.
Yes.
Well, I'll be there on the 26th.
I'm going to do some shows in Vegas too. So
cool.
We'll get everything set up.
Are you going in? When are you getting in? Do you know?
Tuesday.
Oh, okay. So I'm there Wednesday. So
I'm getting there real because I have
I go on Dynamite.
Yes, Dynamite. I'm going everything.
Awesome.
Everything, and
we'll catch up there. Maybe we'll even have you on the Dynamite show that week. Yeah.
Well, me and Hawkins have a history, which is
maybe not then.
No, good
good history. Oh, okay.
Yeah. No.
Maybe we'll even use your. Oh no, because you usually park your truck somewhere and then get around with the rental, right?
Yeah, I'll have to rent a car. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I'll have to rent a car. So.
All right.
But me and Hawkins are we're buds. We
okay. Cool.
Yeah, we have the same sense of humor and stuff like that. So, no, we're
right.
all cool. But it's he's a good guy. I like Jeff very much.
Jeff is the salt of the earth.
Yes.
So for Corey, I'm Grandpa Dez, and this has been Cup